Hi and welcome from Norway. As you might know, the last few days I've spent in the Dovrefjell National Park and the region around it. And in the first day I had an amazing encounter with some golden plovers that I was able to photograph with my RF 100 to 300, really showing the surroundings and everything. So that was an amazing start. And the next day I wanted to try something different. Even though I love this landscape in the fjell above the timberline, I decided to go to a wetland a bit lower in the valley and look for birds there, because I have been there like 7 years ago already. And I remember vaguely that there were a lot of birds, but also tons of mosquitoes, and it was not the most pleasing experience. So this time I was more prepared for the mosquitoes with like a mosquito hat and net and everything. And I just put a bit of mosquito spray here on basically around my wrists and around my neck. And I was completely fine. I had no problem. I think maybe one mosquito bite, but during a whole outing, this is totally fine. However, there was a bit less activity of the birds. I was hoping for blue throats and I think it's called yellow wagtail in English, because here in Scandinavia there is a different subspecies than we have in Central Europe, and I actually prefer the one here. But I was not very successful. I just saw or was able to photograph some seagulls and some terns. So I got some quite nice pictures of that. Afterwards I went back to my tent. I quickly ate some pasta leftovers, and then decided to go for the evening to another location, and my goal was to take picture of the Arctic foxes. I already knew that this would not be an easy endeavor, but I heard that there might be some potential in this location, so I thought I will just try and see if I get successful. And unfortunately, no, I didn't see any Arctic fox. However, there were some birds around, so I got some juvenile northern wet ear, which were quite cute, but they were still rather far away, at least most of the time. Sometimes they also came closer, so I actually ended up using my 2x extender on the RF 600mm f4, giving me an effective focal length of 1200mm. Since the birds are quite small and I managed to get fairly close, I decided to stop down the aperture a bit. This of course increases the sharpness, but my other concern was that I have more depth of field, that actually all of the bird, or at least most of the body of the bird, is actually in focus. I then continued to basically walk around and look for Arctic foxes, and what I saw again was golden plovers, so I'm really on a roll for this species. This time they were a bit shyer, and there was only one close by, but it was again in a beautiful landscape with these lichens and mosses that you have around the rocks. And this time I decided to use my 600mm f4, and because they were rather shy, I actually even kept the extender on. And some tips that I have for you if you take pictures with a tele extender is, first of all, think about that your shutter speed should be a bit shorter if you shoot handheld, because you will automatically, due to the bigger magnification, produce more image shake. So keep a shorter shutter speed and also take more pictures, because my impression were especially with the 2x extender, that I sometimes get very good results with which I'm happy, but I also get more slightly blurry shots. And I'm not 100% sure if it's the shutter speed, if it's the autofocus not hitting or whatever. And the shutter speed is also very important if it's a windy day like right now, because if you have a big super telephoto lens, they actually have quite a surface where the wind can kind of blow in and destabilize your position. So just think about the shutter speed when you take these pictures. Overall, I was quite happy with the pictures, and even though I didn't see any Arctic fox, I returned quite happily home. The next day I decided to go to another different location at a beautiful lake, and I was also very happy there. I saw different shorebirds, I saw some terns that were hunting for fish and got some cool footage there. And in the evening there were some shorebirds coming so close that they were actually getting like below the minimum focus distance of my 600mm, which is 4.2 meters, so really close. They were just landed in front of me, and it was very cute. It came even closer, and at some point I could not take pictures anymore, but an amazing experience. So another beautiful day. And then I came back, I would say maybe at 11 or 11:30. Again, I went to the tent, I slept, and basically for all 3 days that I spent in Dovrefjell, or all 3 nights, I decided to sleep in and not use the sunrise, which sounds kind of crazy as a photographer. But first of all, I'm not doing any weekends here. I'm basically taking pictures every day. So at some point it would get too much if I would also use the sunrise. And then the thing is that sunrise is at 4 in the morning. If I get back at 11:30, by the time I'm asleep, it's maybe 12. And then I should be at the location ideally before sunrise, maybe half an hour or maybe even an hour before sunrise. So this would mean really less than 3 hours of sleep. And at least for me, that's not sustainable, because during the day I was not really able to sleep because in the tent it was really hot, and just laying in the forest didn't work so well because there were still some mosquitoes around. So I decided to just sleep in, take it easy, wake up around 7 or 8, first have some breakfast, then very important to do a backup of all the images I took on the previous day. So I just used my laptop and a power bank to, well, charge the laptop, the GoPro, the cameras and so on. And yeah, afterwards I did a quick sorting through the images where I deleted around 90% already. I usually don't, I'm not too picky out in the field because I cannot judge the images as good as I can at home in a, let's say, darker environment, potentially even with a bigger screen. But it's good enough to delete roughly 90% of the images. And this just helps me to get an overview of the images I took, that if I stay in a location for the next day, I know what I can improve, what maybe went wrong. And the same for the videos that I'm taking. I just have a quick look if the audio is good, if there is any other technical issues, and if not, great. I'm not editing everything, but just to have a rough overview. Very important to do these backups because you might regret it otherwise. And then usually after like 1 or 2 hours at the computer, I went to a nearby lake. I took a quick swim. It was a bit fresh, but it was still okay. And it definitely helped for my smell, because I don't want that even the animals are moving away from me. So that was nice. And afterwards I usually had some lunch. It was quite, well, there was not a lot of variety in my menu. I had pasta the last few days, just with different sauces. I had my small gasoline cooker, but the problem is that I only have 1 bottle of gas, which is a 0.6 liter bottle. So effectively you can put around 5 deciliter of gasoline in there, which is not lasting for a lot. So I wanted to not cook anything more elaborated, and also without running water it's not so nice to do the dishes and all these things. So I kept it simple. And yeah, afterwards I relaxed a bit. I planned what to do in the afternoon and evening, and then depending on the weather I left in the early afternoon or the late afternoon for another location. Yeah, and originally I also wanted to stay 1 more day in Dovrefjell, maybe have another attempt at the musk oxen. However, the weather was supposed to change. The forecast says that it's going to rain tomorrow morning already. And the thing is, before I have a warm and comfortable bed, I will spend 1 more night in the tent. So I didn't want to wake up, it's raining, I need to put the tent together when it's wet and raining, and then I have a wet tent and other wet stuff in my car, and I need to use it to sleep in it for the next day. So this was not ideal, so I decided to leave one day earlier. So I'm on my way to Sweden now, as you can maybe hear or see in the background or at my hair. It's getting windy, so I think there will be rain, hopefully not today, but probably tomorrow. I have one more night in the tent, but that's okay, because then in the evening I will be in a house with a warm shower and the possibility to dry the tent. And I will definitely give you an update once I'm in Sweden. Thanks for watching the video, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.